Ark Ascended's highly anticipated Unreal Engine upgrade that many are hopeful of some performance improvements looks set to be pushed back once again, and players will be able to pre-order Lost Colony, but the pre-order bonus still remains unclear. Welcome back, survivors. The inevitable happened. I knew this was going to happen right from the start of the month. Wildcard are leaving any information on the Unreal Engine 5.5 upgrade until the very last crunch of the month. I've said it before, whenever they only give a month for a release and not a specific day, it is always intended to be the end of the month, which is why I got a feeling the Ragnarok release, or the intended release for Ragnarok, is going to be the very end of April. But let's find out what the latest is. As always, survivors, if you want to keep up with all the latest Ark news, please do subscribe. Wildcard have said that next week in the community crunch, they will be providing some updates to aspects of the roadmap, and that includes information on the Unreal Engine 5.5 upgrade that we've been waiting for a long time. Now, with Wildcard knowing that they're giving us information next week, I'd rather they just tell us now rather than sit on the information for yet another week. The real question is, how bad is the news going to be? Is it going to be coming with Ragnarok in April? Is it going to be coming in May? Is it going to be pushed to the summer? Or are they going to wait for 5.6? As for other aspects of the roadmap, I'm very curious about that, because what else is there to update on for a roadmap besides schedule changes? They've also announced the new dates for Lost Colony pre-orders, which originally was going to be April. It now turns out to be on Ark's 10th anniversary date. It's going to cost $30 depending on where you live in the world. And although $30 I kind of feel is sort of like around an average for DLC releases these days, I don't keep up with it myself, so I could be wrong on that, but I think it's about average. It really does come down to the value of the DLC, the content that's in it. Is it, in your personal opinion, worth $30? And the issue with Lost Colony, and this is the same for generally all DLCs that Ark produce, is that we get very little information on the content. We don't get previews much of the content because Wildcard don't like to spoil surprises. They don't tell us in much detail what's actually coming. So it's difficult for the players to really judge the value of the DLC. But one thing we do know for sure, it will come with bugs and issues. And although people can easily say just don't pre-order it, just wait until it's come out and then see what it looks like, watch streams of it, etc., and then decide whether it's something you want to get. Now, that's the practical thing to do, right? It makes sense. But when it comes to Ark, especially on official servers and more so PvP, players know what it's like when Wildcard put out servers. They put out not enough at the start and then start adding to them. But when you want to get onto the map and get your spot on a good spot on the map for PvP, if you're waiting until the DLC is released to then see what people think of it and what it looks like, by the time you want to get on official servers, it's going to be too late. So it's not always as easy and straightforward as wait and see what it's like. There are sometimes complications around that. But the various mentions of Lost Colony from Wildcard have indicated that DLC will introduce character ability trees, exotic tames, new tiers of gear, and advanced new building systems. With the mentions of ability trees and advanced building systems, it makes it sound like it's going to be a lot more than just a new map with new creatures and engrams, but until we know more, it's difficult to personally judge its value. Now, one thing that has got people confused and unsure about is the pre-order bonus, which is particularly important when it comes to pre-orders. And this generally comes down to Wildcard having difficulties articulating what they want to say in the crunches, and it causes a lot of confusion. And I think this very thing is a good example of it. In the recent crunch, they said all pre-order purchases will immediately unlock exclusive Lost Colony preview gameplay content. I know for some people have taken that in a literal way, i.e. a preview of what gameplay will look like. But if we go back to January's crunch, they said pre-orders starting in April, when you'll be able to enhance your immediate survival with early access to new gameplay systems and exclusive content. A very differently worded statement, and that first one back in January summary actually makes it clear that they're talking about gameplay content, not a preview of what gameplay is going to look like. And personally, I think this potentially is related to the new skills tree, but it's difficult to tell because Wildcard are not actually giving us the information we need to know. The question is, what effect is that gameplay going to have on the game in June up until November, especially for PvP? Is it going to unbalance things? Now, I was expecting a bit more detail on Lost Colony in the crunch this week, and I think I got a feeling it might actually be next week now, and this is why. On Friday, Dolly posted randomly in the Ark Discord asking people if they had any questions about Lost Colony that they could try and dig into a bit more detail in the next crunch. Now, the majority of people won't have even seen this. They won't know anything about it because it was just a random hidden post in the Ark Discord. It wasn't even in announcements or on Twitter. So there weren't many questions asked, but there were a few, and these are what they were. Things like map size, questions about the creatures, people wanted to know about pre-orders, bosses, skills on combat, and questions about the map itself and new systems. Dolly actually said details on the actual systems are likely to remain a mystery to not spoil everything that's new. So when the crunch came out, it was literally just news on the pre-orders. There was nothing else. None of those other questions were actually answered in any detail at all. Which now leads me to believe that the fact that Dolly posted this question on Friday, when she said the next crunch, she may have meant the next crunch after Fridays this week. So meaning next week's, and that potentially does make sense with there being more details on the roadmap that's coming up next week. Also, don't forget, and I'm surprised they didn't remind us in the crunch, the Dinotherium is releasing this week on Wednesday. Thanks for watching, survivors, and don't forget to subscribe to keep updated.